Right, today I have on my bench a B&C, what's the model number? It's a 12PS57 speaker for recon. Looks a bit of a mess because I've already pulled this out to, well, yeah, it's got to come out anyway because this is the bit we're keeping, this is the bit we're not. It was out of one of my K&F PA cabinets, which got slightly overdriven, not by me, by someone else, about a year and a half ago. I didn't look at the speaker until a couple of months later when it needed it for a job, and it had no low frequency, hence this driver is completely dead. And as you can see, the coil is sort of got very hot, it's very tarnished, but yeah, so anyway, these speakers, because they're a high-end speaker, it's a B&C, you can see that pretty damn rusty, but it's just it's one of their older models, it's not a lightweight speaker. I cut this out, that's why it's a bit minging, because it's been thrown around my shed for months. I finally decided to sell the speakers, so this needs reconing, because I can't sell 3 cabinets, I've got 4 of them. So I need to get this reconed, get it in a cabinet, get them tested, maybe give them a touch of paint, and get them sold. They need to go. I've not used them since then, and the current climate, to be honest with you, I want to put the money into other things. So I'm going to recone this driver. I thought it might be something some people, friends might be interested in. There's lots of YouTube videos and stuff of people doing this. I've done quite a few over the years. I just thought it might be interesting to get my side of things for it. So that is that. I'll move this up to one side. Stick it on the floor. This is the kit, this big box. I'll open it up. You can see what's in it. So inside, to get the new cone. This one's pre-assembled. Some of them don't have the voice coil in, you have to put the adhesive around it, but as you can see, this one is all pre-done. The voice coil in this one's a bit better because it's a newer, the other one is a much older driver, so obviously the technology's changed. It's got a lot more copper on this version. It is the same speaker, same rate and everything, but obviously they've, over the years they've improved it, because these K&F speakers, these B&C drivers are out of, do date from the early 2000s. So as you can see, this needs gluing on. Spider, that's the spider there, that needs gluing in as well. So, and this kit comes with shims. That's just some glue ordered, some bits and pieces are all in here, all the gaskets to go around the edge. So the kit comes with everything. The only thing it doesn't come with is adhesive. I've got my own adhesives, which I'll talk about in a bit, and what I use to recone it. So with the kit comes 3 different dust caps, which I've never done a B&C driver before. It's mainly JBLs and 18 sound and Bose and things like that I've done. I've got 3 different dust caps, which is interesting. Luckily the old one, well, unluckily for me, I ripped it off, so that's not the one. Is it that one? It's not that one either. I think it might actually be the smaller one that I need to put on that. Yeah, it's gonna have to be that one. That will make a difference because that's probably going to alter the frequency response, I'd imagine. So that's the dust cap I'll be fitting. And in here just comes your shims, which I'll show you in a bit what they're for. And those little bits of heat shrink there are for the wires, the 2 trailing wires which connect to the terminals on the actual basket, which is the metal bit where the terminals are for the speaker, just to sort of neaten them up and stop moisture or anything getting into them. So there we go. So when I took the cone out of this months and months and months ago, the first thing you always do if you recone a speaker is the gap where the voice coil, this coil here, sits in a little gap all the way around there. Obviously, so you can't see it there, but the voice coil moves in and out of that gap. It's a really small gap. And first thing you do if you're doing any work to a speaker is to tape it off. I've just used cheap gaffer tape. It's normally pretty good, this stuff, and not leaving residue, to stop anything getting in there, because it's a pain to get out. But I will go around it before I start with some masking tape, and just bend it around a piece of card and run it around just to get any rubbish out there. But before I put the new cone in, as you can see, I've already made a start here, removing the old sealant, the old gasket, and and the old adhesive. And they've used like a black epoxy, well, it looks like an epoxy. It's a nightmare to get off. The reason why some recone companies is sometimes not worthwhile with some people, because the amount of labour goes into reconing the speakers. Some of them are dead easy, some of this just comes straight off, then what's left of the spider around the edge there comes straight off, and you just glue the new one in, like put shims in, and off you go, and just solder the terminals, done. But I've already been at this section here for probably half an hour. I've been and had some lunch and come back. Some of it's come off easy, some of it hasn't. The way I get it off is I go along it with I've got an old heat gun, a wallpaper gun. This will just pull off. Normally it just pulls off, I say that. And then a really old chisel which I've sharpened on the sharpening stone. So be so careful not to get your hand on it. Put any fingers anywhere near it for obvious reasons, because it's incredibly sharp. But then I just pull this gasket material off. It is not needed. It's brand new stuff to go on. Let's get that off. Yeah, the biggest problem with these, I mean, I have got a Dremel tool with a small sandpaper bit on the edge which you can go around, but sometimes there's so much adhesive on here left behind. Let's just get that in camera. So much adhesive on there, this just gets all gunked up and struggles. Heating it up, put a bit of heat on it, normally helps out, get it off. It doesn't get off all of it, but every speaker is different, they all use different adhesives, so switch it on would help. I normally run it along here. So it's a long process. Just got a bit of heat on that, so trying to obviously keep my arm away from this, because you have to put quite a bit of force into it. Get the chisel under. Like I said, this is a really old chisel, so I really don't care about it getting damaged, but this adhesive I have just given some heat to for quite a while, and even it's moaning about coming off. As you can see, it's not an easy job, it's not a quick job reconing. This is why a lot of people just send them off or buy new drivers, because they can't be bothered. I've always reconed my own drivers if you can get a recone kit for it. I've got some tannoy dual concentrics that I need to recone, and that's going to be expensive, so for the moment they're staying on the shelf. But yeah, the Bose 802 drivers, they don't make recone kits for them anymore. There was some from America, but I did 8 of those recently, and that was a lot of work. But I got fed up of buying second-hand drivers, and the Bose original ones are a fortune. Blue Aaron, who I buy a lot of these parts off for reconing, they do a jam driver for a Bose 802, which is really good. I tried one. Oh, look at that, it's just coming off now. Look. Huh, yeah, too good to be true. Yeah, that's a good little driver. Oh, this is lucky. Look at that, the adhesive. I know, stop there. It actually come off there for a bit. So, but yeah, the jam driver from Blue Aaron, which is an online speaker supplier. That's a really good driver for a Bose. But yeah, the recone kit, I picked them up off eBay. They're really good recone kit, and I managed to revive some of the old 802 drivers. I'll just show you one. These are little drivers. I've got an absolute boatload of them, and the recone kit is the same as what I just showed you here, but just miniaturized for these. I'm not going to ignore what that says on the back. But yeah, these are plastic shells, and then a little magnet, and there's 8 of these inside the 802, but they're all different numbers. I'm going to put my hand over what I've written on the back there, but all these numbers on here, the part number there on the 802, they're the ones that matter, because they're all different. They might be the same speed, but they're all different. Right, I'm going to crack on with this, and I'll come back in a bit. Right, now since I've got most of this off the edges with the chisel, I've just started here, just with a little Dremel tool, is just getting the rest of it off. The reason we've got to get everything off is because the adhesive I'm using might stick to the old stuff absolutely fine, or it might react and not stick at all, so it's not worth bothering with. There's a lot of effort taking it back down to metal. I haven't even started on the spider where that fits there yet, but this is all I do. Set the old Dremel tool with the sanding bit on the head, and just get it off. Alright, so Dremel tool, it's all off. There's little bits, but that's not the end of the world. So the next task is to get the remains of the spider, which is stuck down on here, off, again with the chisel. I think I'll go around the edge. This normally comes off okay, but we'll see. Right, as you can see, I've got everything off. I've sanded this around the edge here, taken the tape off so you can see the voice coil gap. There's a lot of corrosion on this speaker because I've just re-insulated my shed, and it was in a pile of stuff at the back of my shed, and it's not fared too well. I mean, it's not going to do any harm, but I mean, I'm going to brush it all off and try and get as much of it off as possible. I'm not going to go to town on it. There's just no point. Just get a cloth. Junk everywhere. I'm still at the moment, still working on the workshop. Still got a few bits to do. Waiting for some shelving units to arrive at the moment because I've got stuff stacked everywhere. So when you get to this point, it's important that you clean everything. I've cleaned all the dust away, I've brushed it all down, taken it outside, just giving it a blow down, just to get everything off it, because when you put the new cone in, if there's anything in this gap, you're back to square one. I mean, I imagine I have to do all this again. So you have to. So I've got the tape off. I'll show you what I do. I've got some masking tape here. It's not the best. I'm going to spend the next half hour just peeling it off. Yeah, it's you get what you pay for, I think. Yeah. So it is 3M tape. It's probably very old 3M tape. Anyway, yes, I'm not having much luck here. Oh my days. Start again. If I do this too fast, it's just going to rip again. Wow, this is tedious. No, I'll beat the system, I'll use scissors. So yeah, with this, what I do is I just tape it over itself, run your fingers up it a little bit just to take a bit of the tack away, and then just slot it into the gap, the voice coil gap. Try and slot it as far as you can, push it down, right down into there, and literally just move it around. The idea is it'll pick up any stray bits. I'll do this a few times, and you can see most of it there is rust. Get rid of that bit, and the next bit down. Cool, so now I'm happy there's nothing in there. I'm going to try and test it to fit the cone and see if it fits. So I'm not putting this in for real, but as you can see, the train wires, the lead wires, will obviously go by there, so we'll pop it in that way. As you can see, that fits lovely. You know, hard to tell if it binds up, but so that's in there. That looks good. And the spider sits in there. You can just see. What's that on the camera? You can see the spider sitting in there quite nice and flush. So the next thing to do is just to try some of the shims out. I'll show you the purpose of the shims if you've not ever seen this before. So just take some of the new ones out of the packet. Normally come with paper shims, so this is slits of paper to put them in the gap. So in this case we've got these little bits of clear plastic, and they basically sit in there like this. So I do the opposites first, and gently place them in there, don't force them in. So this is just a test fit at the moment. I'm not actually gluing it in just yet. Just want to make sure everything is right before I commit to doing that. If it ain't right, it ain't gonna work. So we've got 4 shims in there. They're going to keep it spaced around nicely. I have got more here, so normally they give you the right amount. So maybe these. Oh no, there's another 2. Whether they're supposed to be overlapped, we don't normally overlap them. Let's see if I can get another one in, maybe. I imagine this recon kit does fit more than one speaker. I'll tell you what I'll do, I'll be cheeky, I'll cut a piece off that one. Fit that last one in there so it's completely in. There you go, that's the purpose of the shims. So basically all that does is centers the speaker, because you don't want it rubbing or touching the magnet at all. So this is the main focus of it, and obviously the dust cap goes on when all the adhesive's gone off. So the next thing to do, I'll pull these back out then, is to around the edge of here run a line of adhesive. For this I'm using CA150, which you can get from Blue Arrow. It's basically an epoxy. Just put a bead of epoxy all around the edge. Then what I do, I use some clamps and push these on, just so they're holding it down. Or sometimes, in this case, I might get away with it. Sometimes you can turn the driver over, but I like to clamp it down. But the pressure that's being clamped down is normally enough to hold the spider down as well. As you can see, that's pretty firm down. When this driver's down, that's in. So I'm pretty happy that's going to be in there. But to attach the spider, I'm not going to use that. I'm going to use this. It's like a black rubber adhesive. This is normally what I'd use, an RT80, but as you can see, there's some sort of weird chemical reactions gone on here because I've not used it. I think this is because of the cold, I don't know. So I can't use that. They didn't have any of that in stock, but they're using this. Blue Arrow sort of recommended this, which is the same stuff apparently, it's just in the tube. It's probably better though. So that will be going around the spider, and this is also the stuff you use to hold the dust cap on the centre, and I'll explain how I do that as well. So for the moment I need to make sure I'm happy with its alignment, and the drain wires are where they need to be. They need to be exactly in line with the terminals, and obviously I need to snip them, but this is the last thing you do. But you can see the spider in there. It's sitting quite nice and neat without me even pushing it down. So hopefully that should be pretty straightforward. So I'll get some adhesive, everything set up, and we'll go from there. As you can see from the time lapse there, it is now got adhesive in, so we're now playing a time game. This stuff does go off fairly quickly, but they're going to get the shims in. Not playing ball getting the things in. Right, they're all in. So now all we need to do is pop some weight on top of it. The spider's glued down nicely, so I'm happy with that. So last thing to do now is to cover this with some weight and put some weight on top of it. For this I'm using a piece of ply to driver's air, and to weigh it down I'm going to use a tannoy driver that needs reconing. It's just fitting. Centre that up. And there we go. Really see the light there, but got some weight on that. I'm happy with that. This tannoy needs reconing. Makes a lovely noise. Scrapey, scrapey, scrapey. Well, there we go. Right, we're on to the next day now. So it's glued overnight. So I will confess, I did have a look at this last night, pull the board off. But as you can see, it's there. It's all good. It's all glued up. So today, I need to fit dust cap and fit the tinsel leads. So as you can see, I've made a little bit of an attachment using a bit of masking tape in the front so I can lift this off. I've centered it by just going around roughly with this little ruler, just going around it, making sure it's centered, because it's always difficult to tell just looking at it. And everyone does this in a different way, but this is how I do it. I get a pencil, I'll go around the edge of the dust cap. Depending on how much adhesive you put on here, you won't see the pencil line anyway. But this is the way I do it. I think it's a neater finish, do it this way. And then you know where you put your adhesive then anyway, so. Then you got your pencil line around the edge. So the next protocol is to put some glue around that edge, and then we fit that onto it. And before I do that, I need to find some weights to hold some pressure on. So as soon as that goes on, what I normally do is glue it on. Then you should see a little bit of glue around there. I'll pull this masking tape off and I put some weight on top of it just to lightly hold it down. So fingers crossed, this sits in there like that. My weight to weight it down, found my gaffer tape, got that on there, and this knackered Bose driver goes on top. Just centre that up, put just about enough weight on there. I might afterwards, sometimes I do go around afterwards and just round the edge there. I sometimes put a bead round there as well, but I'll see how this goes. I've probably got more enough on there. Right, so I forgot to press record before, but on me soldering the wires, but it is all done, as you can see. The cables are all, the tinsel wires, they're called tinsel wires, are all soldered on. You can see the length I've left on them, and I've heat shrunk. The heat shrunk that was in the kit I've put on there. There, the lead wires are on. It's important not to, when you do these, trying to get the camera, sorry, it's a heavy old speaker, best image for the camera. But when you do these, you can see the how they are. They're kind of they're not too taut, because obviously they've got to move with the speaker. But what I don't like about these BNC drivers, I'm trying to get this somewhere where I can get some good light into it for the camera. Hard to tell on my little preview screen. But these tinsel leads on other drivers, just get my pencil. You can see there at the back where the tinsel lead goes onto the base of the cone. I've had a lot of these fail here. So they've kind of addressed it by putting a bit of glue in there. You see on the camera, put some glue in there. But I've had it where they failed, so the tinsel wire fails at this point here, and sometimes here. It's because this plastic coating they put on the actual cable, on the wire itself. I'm not a big fan, so this is how it is. Most speakers, it's just that little bit of tinned copper there, and they don't have this on. And when you move that there, it's much more flexible than it is inside that sheathing. I don't think it's a good idea, but just because I've seen so many break inside here, so because when the speaker, say that's the speaker cone, that hand there, and that's the actual terminal, when it's moving, it's doing this, and you can see as it's moving, it's pivoting here and there more than the middle. So where's it going to wear out first? It's going to wear out there. Whereas if it's just normal wire and it didn't have this restrictive sleeving on it, the whole thing moves more freely, and you can tell that on a speaker that doesn't have these tinsel wires. So this is this is the old cone. You can see there, actually I can feel it in the wire. So that wire is naturally moving. It's naturally moving there at the base, and that there is really flexible. The middle bit is not as flexible, but there is super flexible. It moves really easily. So it gives you an idea. Most speakers, I don't know, I haven't reconed any more modern speakers these days, but B&C's, yeah, I've done a couple where they've gone there. There's nothing you can do about it. I mean, I have been able on some to take the dust cap off, cut it off like this and get a replacement, and resolder the tinsel lead on, and I brought the driver back to life, but it's not always the case. But anyway, this one's done. I'm going to let it cure for a while, and it's going to go back in the cabinet, and then I'll have a listen.